Hey there everybody, how's your holiday going? There are many thoughts that the holiday season can cause you to think, like will Santa pass me by because I don't have a chimney, or how many ginger snap cookies can I eat without being hospitalized? But one thing that not many people think of is in a hypothetical fight between the North and South Pole, who would win? But sadly I have been burdened with this thought, so that's what we're talking about in this video. So before we do anything, we have to figure out who's fighting in this hypothetical fight. So assuming that the North Pole is anything north of the Arctic Circle and the South Pole is anything south of the Antarctic Circle, the odds are already pretty stacked against the South Pole. I mean, fighting for the North Pole, we got like 4 million Canadians, Americans, Russians, Swedes, Norwegians, Finnish, Greenlanders, plus puffins, polar bears, and like 15 other Arctic animals that can probably kick butt. And in the South Pole, you have 20 million penguins and a bunch of whales, seals, and krill. Now politically, I don't think that people can agree on much, but I do think that we can all agree that a bunch of Swedes can beat krill. The South Pole may have big hitters like leopard seals and orcas, but those are considered useless because the North Pole has either the exact same animal or an animal that directly counters it. Can a penguin take an Arctic lemming? Probably. But this fact is rendered useless when you realize that said Arctic lemming has a bunch of Alaskans and a polar bear backing it up. This matchup is like if you put the entire state of Wisconsin against an old lady. Using common sense, I think we can all agree point 1 goes to the North Pole, but the South Pole can't be counted out yet because the South Pole creatures have a lot more grit to them than the North Pole creatures. On average, the North Pole is around negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter and 32 degrees Fahrenheit on average in the summer. And in the South Pole, the winter averages negative 76 degrees Fahrenheit and negative 16 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer. Now, will this be of use to the South Pole? Likely not, but in the slim chance that for some reason the temperature of the battlefield falls to negative 76 degrees Fahrenheit, the South Pole creatures would easily handle that, while the North Pole creatures would suffer the same fate as me waiting for the bus stop in the winter. As well as this, the South Pole also has a large amount of ice, which means the stuff that lives there is built for walking on ice. I don't think, though, that people that live in the North Pole are built for walking on ice if they're not wearing skates, so I think that a lot of North Pole soldiers would be lost to slipping if the battlefield freezes over and there are no ice skates. Now this scenario wouldn't exactly be a fight and more just be a bunch of penguins watching different things freeze and slip, but that's still a point for the South Pole. Call someone, please. The last thing we have to figure out is weapons and fighting tactics. Now in the North Pole, those fighting would be able to choose between an assortment of different tactical weapons that could likely easily beat a penguin. In the South Pole though, I don't really know how they would defend against the North Pole. According to Google, in order to defend themselves, penguins go into the ocean and blend in with the water, which may work for leopard seals and would likely work against those above the water, but what we also have to remember is that both the North and South Pole have killer whales. Where'd the penguins go? As well as this, apparently penguins also stand their ground and peck the predators to deter them, which I don't really think will do anything against tactical weapons. The South Pole does, however, have numbers on the North Pole, considering there are 4 million people living in the North Pole and around 20 million penguins in the South Pole, which would mean that each person has to fight around 5 penguins. But I don't think that that really gives an advantage because I'm pretty sure I could take 5 penguins. Anyway, the moral of this story is that I like penguins as much as anyone does, but in a hypothetical war between the South Pole and the North Pole wins. Thanks for watching. Another Christmas video soon.